Hello, my friends. I'm Jessie, and I'm glad you could join me for another tip on how to live a spiritually confident life. We're talking neurons and sleep masks today, and I know it's a bizarre combination, but I'm excited because understanding this wiring of the brain gave me a boost of knowledge and a really good reason to keep doing habits that I wanted to master and to break the ones that I didn't. So as a foundation, you need to know that there are billions of neurons inside that pretty little brain of yours, and they fire depending on your actions. The more you fire the same ones, the stronger the connection gets. And this is because of neuroplasticity, and it's true for anyone. It doesn't matter if you're 80. Neurons that fire together, they say, wire together. So creating those new strong connections in your brain is called a habit. And something interesting goes on when you create a habit. The stronger the connection or the habit, the less energy required of you because you don't have to think about it anymore. It becomes automatic for your brain. So I'll prove it. Have you ever been driving down the street and you realized you were home without thinking about it? You didn't remember making that last turn or driving from point A to point B because you've done it so many times. That wouldn't have happened the first time you took that route or the first time you drove a car. That's neuroplasticity in action, and it's helpful for us to gain spiritual confidence. The opposite is also true. The less you do something, the more disinclined you will be to repeat it, which is great news for those habits that we want to break because we can sever those neuron connections by staying away from the circumstances. Another interesting point that will help us understand the immense value of living a spiritually confident life is that a connection or a habit, as it grows, there's a feeling or emotion weaved in to that habit. So let me give you an example. I used to really struggle with sleep. It was difficult to go to sleep, it was difficult to stay asleep. I was down and sluggish during the day, and I felt guilty because I had 3 very small children, and I believed that they deserved Snow White as a mother figure, not Cruella de Vil. So something drastic had to change, and it did. I started wearing a sleep mask and earplugs, and I know it looks funny, but I was desperate. And in the beginning, it drove me nuts to have something in my ear at night, or a fuzz or a string tickling my nose, and my eyelashes would swipe the fabric every time I blinked. However, when I woke up, I felt better than usual because I didn't hear the door creak, the ice machine in the kitchen, or my husband wandering around the room. So for the next several weeks, I put up with the ear, nose, and eyelash annoyances, knowing that in the long run, it would be better for me. But just like Disneyland, the magic doesn't stop there. My neurons repeatedly fired and rewired to create this habit, and the emotion was sleepiness. I legitimately started yawning and feeling sleepy every time I picked up my magical face mask that didn't used to be magical, but because of my repetition, it now was. I'm not making this up. It made me so happy. I was consistent enough with this small habit that my amazing, malleable brain created a positive connection to an action that I chose to create. Now, this sounds familiar to a phrase we use sometimes: by small and simple things, great things come to pass. You've heard this. So recognize the feelings that you have associated with your best and worst habits. Not only are your habits on repeat, but your emotions are on repeat, which can lead to repetitive happiness, peace, and confidence, or sadness, doubt, and depression. And you don't even realize that it's the habit that's repetitive, not necessarily the emotion. Okay, so shift back to spiritual confidence. We know we can rewire our brains with repetition. We know it's gonna be bumpy. We know we're gonna have to put up with ear, nose, and eyelash annoyances, but we also know that every time we do, we're creating a positive connection, and it's getting easier and easier to do as the weeks pass, which is why Elder Scott can say, simple, consistent, good habits lead to a life full of bountiful blessings. I love that. Okay, so time to put your thinking caps on. I want you to write down your best habit and your worst habit. but I also want you to write down next to it the feelings that are associated with each one and what habit you want to rewire. So just choose one habit to rewire and write it down. A thought or feeling has already come to your mind. I absolutely know it has, because a Father in heaven loves you, He speaks to you, and He is inviting you to change through the power of His Son's atonement. And He always does it the very moment that we ask. Okay, if you're not signed up for a newsletter, head on over and get us in your inbox for more tips. And if this video was helpful, please like it so that other people know it's worth their time, because they will trust you way more than they'll trust me. Our hope, our prayer, our work is that you find a resource or product here that magnifies your ability to connect, to hear Him, and then live a spiritually confident life.